Hello. I'm just going to do a little recording just of my biome. This is Nemesis or Jungle Biome Galactic Suite, and I just wanted to showcase some ideas. So here we are, and the first thing you'll notice is I've textured the walls and everything. Used some Shutterstock imagery, not too high res. Managed to mint NFTs that contain the textures from Solana. What would be nice is if we could link to images and other materials, especially textures, in Aiternate. I don't know how you say that, Aiternate, because it can be a bit tricky trying to make things look realistic when you're stuck with sort of quite a simple palette of colours. But I'm sure the development team are perfectly aware of that. But just to give some other people some ideas of what I've done, this could be useful for you if you're trying to think of things that you could do with your own biome. So with the jungle biome here, you can see I've basically minted NFTs that are then brought in as an NFT image for like trees, waterfalls, this kind of thing. And you can see I've tried my best. It's quite hard to do well. That use the waterfall effects on top of waterfall kind of environment textures to give a kind of feel of a live waterfall. What would be great is if you could blend in edges so they're a little less kind of straight, rather than just having a square plane. So I've tried to mix planes together and all of that. And you can see behind me I've kind of done a similar thing with a sort of water irrigation system, which was a pain to put together. And again, it would be nice if you could blend these together so you couldn't see maybe the lines between each section, but trying to get that kind of movement and frequency of speed's really hard. But I think I've done alright given the fact that it's only had 6 days to put this together, so why not? So here we are. The ground floor is not as detailed as I like it. When we go upstairs you'll see why. One thing to note for those wondering, if you look on the ground, there is a dirt texture at the moment, but on the top story there isn't, and that's only for people with a duplex or a galactic suite. But otherwise, I'm coming back to this sort of water irrigation thing. I've tried to use waterfalls that flow down into it, and okay, and you can see over here I've got a sort of a waterfall coming down and into the irrigation system, where also waterfalls on the first story. So I'm trying to think about the whole biome as a whole and how it kind of integrates together. And you can see there's some palm trees here which you can then see from the top story. I just thought it just makes it a bit more interesting. So these are flowing down. You'll also notice even though I think Plexi and SpongeMob were like, what the hell are you doing? I stuck in the sun and the earth and the moon just into the far background. I believe the development team are going to be putting something a bit more complex into our sort of windows and everything. But I thought it was just nice because, you know, you're sitting here, you're having a martini at the cocktail martini bar, as you were, and enjoying sunshine. But there is no sun, so I thought I'd just stick one there, and I thought that's nice. And as you can see, you move around, and you know, a bit of parallax and foreshortening on the moving back and forth as you move around, so I thought quite like that. I've also got a bathtub. People thinking, oh, why have you got a bathtub in the jungle? That's so weird. Well, my wife and I actually stayed somewhere in Cornwall. I'm from the UK, if anyone's wondering. And there was a place we stayed at, and there was a British couple who'd been to New Zealand, and apparently bathtubs out in your garden is a thing. So this gave me sort of the idea of, well, why not have a bathtub out in a sort of jungle hideout, because hey, they do it in New Zealand, and you know, why not? So you can see there a little rubber ducky with some bubbles. It'd be nice if there's some more like animated foam, sort of splashing kind of objects that work well with the waterfalls, but there you go. And you can see I've got like a sort of candle in a bottle, similar to what you get maybe at a outdoor restaurant. Little bonfire with some rocks around, and a nice hammock with a pillow and a book. I was going to be super keen and trying to add my own textures to the book, but do you know what? I think life is a bit too short. And I've hanged these off some of the vines coming down, thought it'd be nice. In here, there's a lot more I want to do, but I've kind of creating like a sort of It's a little bit Harry Potter-esque, but sort of room under the stairs. Just to stick some NFTs on for now, but I kind of want to. I was just deliberating whether to create a door here or something, but you get the idea. Also, for texturing the walls and everything, I sort of thought putting a path behind this entity kind of gave the impression that you could get here sort of along there. But if anyone's ever played, quite an old game now, but there's a game called Zork Grand Inquisitor, it sort of had these kind of slightly static graphics, and you'd have these kind of portals that would take you to different times, which kind of looked a bit like this entity does, and it would usually be stuck in front of a path and stuff. So that was just the idea behind that. Probably no one knows what I'm talking about, but if you do, then kudos. So yeah, the water comes down here and you think, oh, well, what's this? Well, what I didn't like was the fact you had this kind of floor and the stairs kind of visible, which in a jungle didn't make any sense to me. So I try to hide everything under foliage, and the idea is that the trees down here kind of create a jungle canopy, and that this explorer has built a sort of tree house that goes up into it, which in turn also has an irrigation system that flows down. So in order to get to the story, you have to actually walk up the sort of irrigation system. I don't want to make it too perfect, so it's quite nice just having a continuation of the water just stick out here. And then you can see here, you know, we've got a sort of tree house, and sort of buried into the canopy a little bit with some sort of textures. And what I wanted to do is also create a sort of if anyone's sort of heard of anything called Go Ape, or if you've ever been to like the Far East or Vietnam or Malaysia or something like that, sometimes they'd have like joining bridges between sort of up on a tree canopy. So the idea of this is you can't walk on the tree canopy because you might fall through. But to have something you can actually walk across it. So that's what the idea is. I ran out of time, but I wanted to stick a telescope here, so then you can stargaze, and that's probably what I'll do tomorrow. So it's like a little viewing spot. And here you can see the palm trees up here, which is quite nice. And you can see it's sort of built a sort of lodgy kind of thing. And there's sort of another waterfall coming down with a sort of texture. Again, it would be nice to have something that's a bit more three-dimensional, whether not planes, we could warp planes so you can create a 3D look to it, so it's not as flat. That would be really nice if we ever had that kind of control. And you can see here I've kind of even added a sort of newel posty thing. You know, if this explorer does a lot of carpentry and he's built all this, I know a guy who does a lot of carpentry and he likes sticking all these finishes on. This is just a bubble, a bit like the celestial objects over there, just a bubble textured, but it works quite nicely as the kind of a knob on top of a post. So there we go. And there's a walk along the canopy, and we come over here, and the idea of this is sort of a tree house that comes out into the canopy, and then you can see up here, look, I've sort of created an opening. If anyone's good in astrology, that is the Big Dipper, and then sort of styled a sort of moon. So downstairs is kind of like daytime, and then up here it's got more of a nighttime feel with the torches and everything. So I've tried to do that as well. And the idea is, as well as coming up in the canopy into this sort of tree house, it joins onto a rock face to offer its support. And then we go to a little carp pool. It'd be nice to have animated fishes, and then also sort of more water. It's like a giant sort of waterfall scape that flows down into a sort of mirror pool, and then this flows over down below. Yeah, and sort of you walk across, and then you can see over here we've got a little carpentry bench, and the two different types of wood, sort of the light and dark wood that's been used to make the cabin. And then sort of you'll see here that this is actually the netball nets on the beach. They kind of look like sails at the moment because they're not very net textured. I sort of made them transparent so it looks a bit more like nets. And again, this is to protect you from falling off. Yes, whatever. And then you sort of got like a view on the sort of the edge of the rockscape over here where you can see waterfalls in the distance which are animated. And you can also see that through the windows as well. So yeah, and then this sort of comes up here. I think another thing I might add is I'm sort of using the canopy as a roof for this sort of treehouse thing, but maybe like a corrugated sort of roof. Is that the word? Like one of those sort of bent metal roofs that you get on top of sheds and stuff, that kind of thing. A corrugated roof, I think it's called. And then here I've got sort of cut into the rock is, the sort of jungle temple. It was offered on the list in the jungle section for objects. I thought, why not use it? I was thinking about actually building kind of more of an Aztec-y or Mayan kind of temple, but I thought just in case the team decide to tinker around with the rotation values and settings and everything gets messed up, maybe I'll wait for a bit more development before I do something even more detailed than what comes out of the box. But I've tried to style it a bit so it looks a bit like marble and obsidian put together with a bed, of course, and some torches, and then you can see the waterfalls behind. So yeah, that sort of gives you an idea. There's still lots of ideas, really, but I hope anyone watching this, this is kind of useful, maybe giving some ideas. I know if I had a desert biome with 2 stories, I would definitely have like a desert on the ground floor and then maybe an entrance going up the stairs that goes into like a pyramid, and then you come onto the second floor, which is maybe inside the pyramid. That's sort of what I would do if I had a desert one, but I was sort of drawing to the jungle, just because, I don't know, it's maybe more up my street, I don't know. I can't remember who, but someone was styling a really awesome castle. So this maybe is less finesse but a bit more organic, but trying to get all of these curves and everything is a real pain, especially as objects. You can't snap them to other objects like if you're using a proper 3D design suite or something, so this was a pain. Anyway, I hope you enjoy, and talk to whoever later in Discord. Bye.